What is it?
Well, it's called a randomizer, and it's fitted to the guidance systems and operates under a very complex scientific principle called potluck. Now, no one knows where we're going. Not even the Black Guardian.
Not even us.
Hello and welcome to episode 21 of the Randomizer podcast. I am Tim.
Yay, and I'm Chaz. We're 21!
21.
Woohoo! In America, we're legal to drink.
Yeah, we might need it.
Yeah.
So, we have just watched Flux Chapter 2 and we loved it. We're so excited.
It was great! I can't believe it. I'm being positive. How fucking weird is this?
I think I was so anxious that when I sent you my little reaction emoji...
You were shitting yourself.
You come back with
oh, it's fucking crap.
Yeah, exactly that. No, I'm at least as delighted that you loved it as I am that I loved it. No, great fun. We've just rewatched it together and just still holding up very nicely.
Oh, very much. Great effects. Looked absolutely beautiful, as you quoted about the explosion of the ship in Liverpool.
I think that is genuinely the best ever visual effect I've seen in Doctor Who, was the crash of the Sontaran ships in Liverpool docks.
It was wonderful. Sontarans were brilliant in it, that just the right balance of evil and funny, because the sort of evilness, the lines like, your bodies will cushion our footfall or whatever it was, is so fucking good,
That's
great
such
dialogue.
Good writing. It wasn't kind of cliched or pompous, it was, evil poetry.
Really good dialogue. Characters I really enjoyed. We had 3 storylines going. None of them felt boring. None of them felt jarring or whatever. I was interested in all 3 storylines. Carbonista, again, is becoming my favourite fucking Doctor Who character. He's just great. I love him. I love Dan. Dan, I thought, in the first episode, I really liked him, but he was set up to be too nice.
Yeah.
But no, Dan is clever, Dan's resourceful, and he's just bloody funny.
He's also he's seen some real horror now. The execution scene in the Liverpool docks, you really see the effect it's having on him, having to watch that. And if it was the Doctor, you'd think they'd be like banging the walk and distracting the Sontarans.
Yeah, you did get the impression that he was going to, but what could he do?
He's a human, he's paralysed. Doesn't know what to do, and it's too late. They're dead.
Although
if he had distracted them, they probably wouldn't have hit him, because the Sontarans can't shoot for shit in this episode.
Oh god, no! They've obviously been trained by stormtroopers.
Why did we never meet anyone who can shoot straight?
I did love the scene inside the ship. First of all, the Doctor and it just magically seemed to sort of hook up their Bluetooth, as it were, which is rather brilliant.
I guess that's the communications hub between the different time zones.
Because it is a temporal command ship. They did say that, but I did like the thing about I was trying to get to whatever pier it was, and then he bashes the Sontaran with his magic walk.
Can't believe it fell for your bosses over there. Line.
Yeah, and then the next one come in and he tries to use the same excuse.
I had seen the picture of the walk on Twitter, but I had assumed that had been photoshopped. I just thought that there was some other action pose, or he was holding something else, and somebody had photoshopped a walk.
It had been photoshopped about 100 times. People had photoshopped different things into his hand.
Yeah, but I didn't think the walk was real.
Yeah. So it did seem implausible that it was going to be a fucking walk.
Yeah.
But I loved it. It reminded me of Donna, although she did get a hammer, which was probably more. But it just was so just silly and fun.
The right sort of Doctor Who silly.
That's what I'm saying. The balance was great. It was a sort of romp pomp, because you had a decent balance of comedy, action, and some pretty serious drama going on.
High stakes romper.
Yeah.
Oh, what else have I noted down? I liked the jokes. I think the temporal one was right on the edge, but it was great. Good fun. What else? I've got it's not so much a joke, but just some really nice lines, like, are you expecting a response to your musings?
That was good. I liked the one about, when the Sontarans explaining why he's here, and he said, I wanted to ride a horse.
I know, that was just brilliant. Because we all thought the photo of the Sontaran and the horse was really good.
It was, when I watched it, I actually laughed out loud at that bit, because I thought, that's fantastic.
I really liked, repair must not be undertaken by idiots.
Yeah.
And, talking of idiots, you're welcome welcome, idiot, when Carbonista reappears. Hit the road, Skak.
That's pushing it.
Yeah. But no, some great dialogue, really, both in terms of the kind of the humorous dialogue and also, like you said, the Sontarans gloating warlike dialogue. So good.
I loved Dan's parents. I thought they were great.
They were a bit much for me, but only just. You didn't spoil anything.
Yeah, one was a regular in Brookside. I think the other one was in Bread, but I'm not 100% sure. But it was just nice to see them, and they were it was just very Liverpudlian, that whole thing. I did say to you earlier that I had this idea that if they had managed to change the course of time, could you imagine things like the Liverbirds, where you've got the and you've got Sontarans in the title sequence.
I was thinking,
Garden Liverpool Docks or something.
Now we go live to the studio for Top of the Pops, featuring the Fab Four: John, Paul, George, and Strax.
Yeah, I mean, Richard and Judy used to film from the Liverpool Docks, and they had the weatherman who nobody wants to mention because he went to jail, but you could have had Strax,
the Sontaran
jumping across the map.
Today the rain will fall on your puny human heads. Okay, so Atropos, the temple of Atropos. Atropos is one of the goddesses of fate, one of the fates in Greek mythology. There's obviously some sort of seeding going on there. Planet Time, which makes perfect sense of next week's episode title, Once Upon Time. So we are thinking there's quite strong signposting that this might be the planet of the origin of the Timeless Children.
Yeah, they did mention that the Guardians were sort of there to keep balance of time, etc. Time is evil, and it will find its kin or something.
Yeah, we're getting strong sapphire and steel vibes.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. Yeah, it's really good stuff. And we were saying that Swarm is just a natural villain. He's so suave,
sort of louche.
And just comes in, owns the room completely the minute he enters. Very good performance.
The phrase that popped into my head was, there's a real character under the monster.
Yeah. He's a very much a classic Doctor Who villain as well.
You're still on the edge of your seat because they're so dangerous.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could absolutely believe when he grabs Yaz that could be it.
Yeah. I think he's going to be one of those villains that, even if he's only used in this story, he'll endure.
No, it's class act, lovely stuff, brilliant performance. Just I like it when because villains, they so easily fall into this everything I say is super important crap, and it just wears thin very quickly. But there's such kind of variation and subtlety in the way that he's being played. Really loving that performance. I think Azura's performance is suffering a little by comparison. It's a shame, but it's
She's
only
in his shadow, as it were.
Yeah, it's like, you're standing next to somebody who's just knocking it out.
And then, of course, we've got the bodyguard that looks like Thanos.
What is going on there? I mean, last time we saw them, right, Diane was in the spooky house, and there they were. So I was like, have they put Diane in a silly suit? But my other thought is that, given the sort of physicality, it's built like a shit brick house. But is it a Karnos? Who could it be?
It could be anything.
Actually, also with Planet Time, I have a theory. So the Doctor arrives and says, the temporal and spatio-temporal coordinates are at 0. So that's like the beginning of time and the middle of space.
Oh, God.
It's the Big Bang.
No.
That's where Terminus is.
No.
Carbonista must be the Garm.
Oh, Jesus.
If episode 6 is called Nissa, then...
She's at the heart of it. It's Nissa. She's the whole fucking thing.
The whole thing is a malfunctioning ion bonder.
I'm not very good at telebiogenesis. Her greatest line.
So what else?
Oh, the spooky house at the start.
Oh, that was amazing.
That was Lungbarrow, if you ask me. It's got to be Lungbarrow.
That kind of weird, sort of impossible topography and floating in the air.
That was so good, and I'm glad they done it in black and white.
Great, wasn't it? It looked amazing.
Really good.
Yeah.
And the spooky forest as well,
Just a lovely kind of opener. And, they throw in these kind of asides and flashbacks. And the way the Timeless Children had the whole Ireland thing, but that was sort of too much and never really tied in. Yeah. These are seeded in really nicely.
See, that Ireland thing in the Timeless Children would have been great if they'd just sort of seeded it in properly.
Or you'd had the sense of, I said this before, you had the sense that the Doctor was experiencing it in any way, whereas now you absolutely do.
Yeah.
Jodie's being pulled into these
because
moments.
that whole thing at the very start of the first episode about psychic connection.
Yeah, and in and out of her eye and that amazing shot last time.
It's great.
So the Sideburns is back, wandering around Planet Time.
Yeah, and this is what you were saying before about Yaz. The way she spoke to him as a police officer. She calmed him down. She shared empathy with him. And, took charge of the situation.
She's coming into her own, isn't she?
Exactly. And if they'd done this at the start, I mean, she is a police officer.
Yeah.
That would have made Jazz far more interesting and far more useful.
About time. And I loved her and Vinder.
Immediately, the two of them had more chemistry than her and Tosin Cole ever had. I watched Vinder and I thought in space of 10 minutes... I liked him more than I ever liked Tosin Cole's character. Yeah. And I'm not necessarily saying anything against the actor, I just think it was so poorly written compared to what we're getting.
Yeah, and I loved how they kind of, Yaz's kind of response to the formal intro was quite sweet.
That was nice.
Yeah,
I liked that.
Just real wit, and that's such a joy to see.
What was it? Oh, WWTDD.
Yeah, if you can't get WD-40, that'll do.
Yeah. No, that was at first my eyesight. I just saw a bunch of random numbers. So I never
it's like, where she got her phone number on her hand.
Like, what the fuck? But that was quite fun, and the way that Swarm sort of done it and all that, it was just so dripping with menace.
It's a clever bit of writing because Swarm's straight to something personal that she's undermines her confidence that she's been showing, and also how long has she had that written on her hand?
Yeah,
at what point was that written?
You postulated whether it was a tattoo
or
not.
He says it's written in pen, so there goes that theory. But I think maybe it could be like a drunken girls' night out and they got a tattoo.
God almighty! Yeah, I'm gonna get a tattoo.
I haven't seen Jodie's palm recently. Maybe she's got WWYD.
See, I actually entertained the idea it was a tattoo because they'd been to Liverpool, so maybe they'd had a night out in Liverpool and what happens in Liverpool stays in Liverpool.
I don't know anyone named Ruby. Yeah. No, Sideburns, the Victorian guy. Is it Victorian? Am I getting the right year?
Yeah.
I'm not sure
1820. Yeah.
Anyway, so
okay.
It's interesting, a little kind of cameo almost, and he's kind of very confused.
He's going to be important. I think we'll get the story. We obviously will get that story. I think it'll be probably episode 4 or 5.
Do you think he's left the building, or is he going to jump out from behind a triangle and clobber Swarm next week?
Well, next week, I mean, we're not going to go too much into next week, but we did watch the next time, and there seems to be a lot of time jumps happening because Yaz is in a police officer's outfit and a general or something.
Dressed up like Vinder's boss.
So I suspect we'll get a lot of snippets next week.
And we saw Carbonista after a shave.
We saw the actor that plays Carbonista, who played Dan's mate in the intro to Dan at the end of Revolution of the Daleks.
But he didn't look particularly human, did he? He was dressed up more like
he seemed to have a suit jacket with no shirt.
And the hairstyle.
And it did look like Swarm's jacket a little.
I thought he was Benedict Cumberbatch.
Well, it could be. Yeah. So who knows? I mean, I'm not, as I say, it's pretty hard to speculate. But I think Once Upon Time probably means we're going somewhere around, time jumps, division.
So this could be flashback to Vinder's backstory.
Who knows?
Yeah. The Sontarans, nicely brutal. The execution scene at the docks really laid that out nicely. And I wondered if it was going to turn out to be Dan's mum and dad. That would have been really difficult.
I think that would have been a bit too dark, but it would have been good.
Would have been hard for Dan to recover from that in anything.
I think the makeup effects on Sontarans, they looked great. They really did. And the armour. I'm so pleased they went back to the original design. I've got nothing against the way they looked in Sontaran Stratagem and things, but it's just too clean. And
so you like your Sontarans dirty?
I do. I am dirty.
There's our title.
You like your Sontarans dirty.
Dan is explicitly invited aboard the TARDIS again.
That's true, yeah.
Dan and Carbonista, grudging respect between them now. Nice banter.
So good. And they have got a sort of Bostock and Orsini thing going on, which was Eric Sayward, but he was mirroring.
Trying to be Holmes. I like Carbonista shaking himself dry. I would have loved a wet dog smell joke at that point.
That was great. Yeah. You've got the grudging respect going on.
Well, there's one I only got the second time round. Was Carvanisa's entrance line was, "I've got a human in this fight. I've got a dog in this fight." It didn't click the first time.
Yeah, it's good. It's actually difficult to find anything to criticise about it. I think. No, I know, and I think I know what it might be, and I agree slightly.
You don't know what I'm going to say.
Okay, I'm going to guess that you're talking about the Sontaran battle.
Yeah, all right.
And when they
It's a dodgy effects shot. And for all the glory of that one with the crash in the Mersey docks, this was a very weak shot with a very obviously CG Sontaran army and even the commander, I think, with a CG figure. But I guess it's maybe that we're just seeing the places where the money ran out, and maybe that's also what was up with the pre-titles last time.
Yeah, possibly. To be fair, we're not talking about the overhead shot.
It's the pre-battle moment.
Yeah. The actual overhead shot looks great, and the actual battle where the Crimean.
I thought the Crimeans were rubbish.
They were a bit crap.
Soldiers,
they looked just
But it's too much of a coincidence that the Crimeans would be an alien race that happened to have a flag that's exactly like the Union Jack.
But no, the soldiers, when they were attacking the Sontarans, I mean, they were just getting slaughtered, obviously, and it just was delicious. Brutal. You get this thought of like World War One and the generals just ordering soldiers to a certain
the history of that kind of crap.
It's obviously, and the commander is obviously a fucking arsehole.
I think he was playing dead. Is that right?
Yeah. And it was horrific, and the poem Alfred Tennyson, Charge of the Light Brigade, it's a very emotional poem.
To my shame, I didn't get the reference.
No, half a league gone.
Now, huh?
Yeah, into the Valley of Death rode the 600 cannons to the left of me, cannons to the right of me.
Here I am, stuck in the middle with you.
Exactly.
I slightly miss the original Sontaran handguns. The lighty up pencil ones.
Maybe you said.
I always like guns that don't look like guns. I think.
No, I prefer my militaristic monsters to have big guns that obviously are obviously an excuse for having small penises.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, you would think as a cloned species they would genetically splice their penises to be enormous, because obviously now we've realised that Sontarans are actually Scottish. In fact, so wouldn't they go into battle naked?
For all we know, what's sticking out the top of the helmet is the penis.
I mean, the commander...
It could literally be dickheads.
The commander...
He's a Scottish actor, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a Scottish actor.
You pointed this out to me, and now I can only hear him as Scottish, and the entire Sontaran race seem like Scottish bampots to me. You've ruined it.
It's so weird because you listen to it, and he's basically talking, but you can hear occasionally the words. His Scottish accent comes through.
Well, Jodie's going, did the Sontarans cause the Flux? And he's going, no, it wasn't the Arsene.
And it does eventually feel like he's going to go, Greg, I do it!
So the Macrimians do it.
Wouldn't it be great if he just got a big cutlass? Ah, you fucker!
He said they'll be back. He never told her that out, So what else? Dan trying to call Diane when he gets home. It's a nice touch.
Yeah,
keeping that little
plate
spinning.
Sweet.
Swarm and Zero just continue to be absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, that was a great cliffhanger, actually. Although I do think the one thing that ruined the entire episode for me, I'm sorry, but it was good up to this point, in which point it just became absolute garbage. Swarm and his sister doing the countdown to Yaz, and then he went...
Click.
With a pair of fucking gloves on? That's not possible. I'm sorry, but I had the same problem with Thanos and the click. You can't do a fucking click with gloves on.
Maybe he did it with his tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. I think the timing of that, the build up to that, is really, really good.
It is very good.
I was so excited.
Gloves aside.
Yeah. And I feel genuine, even though we've seen Yaz in the trailer for next time.
I mean, we obviously know.
Mind you, it could be flashback.
Yeah, it could be.
She could still be neat.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, maybe, I suppose the time pouring through them could be what sends them
that's
through
and maybe it's like Clara in some ways, different versions, because if she's a police officer and some general in the division.
Oh, yeah. Because there's a lot of really weird and wonderful stuff in that little coming up next time moment. Oh, Dan opening the Sontaran door. He definitely does a Spock hand, doesn't he?
That was great.
I wanted him to say live long and prosper.
Yeah. I often wonder why the Sontarans don't have some sort of security print on their fucking doors because anybody can open them.
The arrogance. Mary Seacole was great, but sort of slightly diminished quite quickly to just being an assistant.
Maybe, but I also quite like, because what I used to like about the pseudo-historicals was you might have a historical character, but they weren't the complete focus of the episode. Mm-hmm. The plot was, and they were part of the episode, but not, as I say, the focus. Whereas recently we've had a lot of historical characters who've been the complete focus of the episode. And that's not a bad thing. It's just nice to see, her helping along, being part of it, still being celebrated, but we're actually getting things going on.
No mind wiping, mind you, eh?
No.
Although the return of the deadly finger, one finger can be a deadly weapon.
Oh God!
So Judy knocks out the guard with a pinky.
Yeah. Well,
I think we'd talked about that at some point in the past about it maybe being a step too far in survival when the Doctor knocks out Sergeant Paxton.
A little bit, but
I don't know. I'd much rather that than like them clobbering them over the head or something like that. I think it's one of the biggest. I know it's in a sort of fantastical context, but it's one of the biggest, I think, things that TV suggests regularly across many genres.
You can whack somebody over the head,
and they get up and they're a bit groggy a bit later.
Yeah, because I got mugged years ago. Genuinely.
This isn't about the mutants.
No.
Okay.
No, I got mugged genuinely years ago, and I had a bottle smashed over my head, and I was actually unconscious for about an hour.
Bloody hell.
Well, in and out, and I got taken to hospital, and it took, I was sort of got concussion, and it was bloody scary.
Yeah. From TV, you'd expect you'd be up and about and rubbing your head and going...
Yeah, just, whatever.
Anyway, so I think Chris Chibnall is clearly thriving in a longer form story.
Yeah.
So much better.
We were talking about that nights in terms of Broadchurch. He obviously gets time to tell a story, and maybe this is where it's all fallen down for him. He just can't tell a story quickly.
Yeah.
He needs a bigger canvas to work on. I'm not using that as it's been fine, because he's a writer.
Yeah.
He should be able to adapt.
But it's made me think that you'll have certain strengths and certain weaknesses.
Of course.
And, they set up the format of the new series with mostly single stories within the 45-50 minute episode.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not to everybody's strengths. And so actually more two-parters, a longer form series like this, it's glorious if it continues this strong.
But you would also think that he would realise this and maybe employ other writers,
to do the quick stuff.
Take more of that and him to do maybe a bit more of the two-part or something,
Do you know if Chris Chibnall's writing all the specials that are still to come?
I would imagine so.
Yeah. So.
I know that not next week's episode, but the week after
one,
is the one with Maxine Alderton, is it? And that's the Angels episode. Yeah. So, as I say, I have lots of hope for that one, and obviously a lot of fear, because if it's disappointing, I'll be doubly disappointed.
Yeah, true.
It's a very solid second episode, very difficult second album, as it were.
Something crystallised for me, which is slightly sad, is that I think just not enjoying some of Jodie's work on this. Now, I loved a lot of the mannerisms, like the finger in the air when she's wielding the sonic to make the parley noise, and the tongue poking out and firing the catapult, just glorious. Yeah. Lots of great stuff, but some of the bigger reactions feel too big to me, and I think I could want for more nuance. And it's not by any means me going, it's rubbish, but it's just, I think, a slight sort of settling into something I've maybe not wanted to think, but which is that, it's just not my favourite performance.
I'm of the opinion that I've got no great problem with Jodie. I don't think she's up there with any of the great Doctors. I don't think I've ever thought that. I think her performance is quite good. In the past, we've had crap scripts, obviously, but I don't think we've got that excuse here. I think they're good scripts, good direction, decent dialogue, and she's not quite stepping up to the plate.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bit of a shame, and I don't want it to come across as, oh, well, that means Jodie's shit. I don't believe that. I don't think she is. And I was very happy, and I'm still very happy that she's the Doctor for the moment.
It's not the whole performance. No. It's just elements of the performance. Yeah. This was a tiny, tiny little drip in what was genuinely a thrilling and really lovely episode of Doctor Who. I was so happy with it. And then next time, Weeping Angel in the Wing Mirror.
Oh, that was brilliant. Yeah. I liked that.
Very excited about next time.
A man is the sum of his memories, you know, a Time Lord even more so.
It's time for Your Cheating Memory, which is the part of the show where we revisit an old Doctor Who episode randomly generated by therandomizer.net and see what we think of it. So, we picked a Tom Baker, The Leisure Hive, last time.
Oh, right. It was that one I'd forgotten.
It was long ago.
Yeah.
You know, we were younger then. What did we think of The Leisure Hive?
Do you know what? I haven't seen that in years. It's not one that... It's one of those ones that I never choose. Mm-hmm. Because although there's a lot to like in season 18, it's not a season I've revisited.
It's the end of the season that gets all the glory, isn't it?
But it was fun. It was really damn good.
Yep.
I loved, as I said, how stupid it was, the excuse for getting rid of K9
or chucking the ball into the water
quickly. And the fact that we travelled to another planet and Romana didn't get out of her bathing costume, that was fucking weird. But as you could really tell that they were, this is a new production crew and everything. We're wanting to be very modern and whatever, so we had a lot of Quantel effects and things. It was really cool, the Formazi. The faces, not the rest of the body, but the Formazi heads were great.
Yes.
It was a good script, good acting. I love David Haig playing a villain without a moustache and a pot belly.
What's that reference to?
Thin Blue Line.
He's the kind of cop who takes it all too seriously, isn't he?
Yeah. But no, I mean it was really fun. I think one of my favourite bits was when the Formazi government turned up and put his translator on news. Hello, and he sounded like Mr. Chumley Warner.
I thought it was so bizarre tonally. He walks in and goes, "Did somebody mention Formazi?"
It was great.
It's like the fun's coming in.
Yeah, but it really did feel like, you know, he should have a bowler hat or something on.
That was strange. It was so at odds with the rest of it. Wrap it up quick.
Funny. And the costume, the makeup design, and the Formazi, of course, are forerunners to the Slovene.
They really are, aren't they? Yeah. Squeezing into human skins, and it's a faction within the planet.
Yeah. Again, it's a family rather than a...
I guess Formazi being the anagram of mafioso.
Mafioso, yes.
Family things there.
You're going to do it for the family.
So I love that theme in those titles. They were the ones I mainly grew up with. They were the titles and themes.
Oh yeah, the Peter Hill theme is a work of art. And the title sequence, I have very, very fond memories of that sort of neon. And it was also very exciting with the when it starts. I had a 7-inch single of that that I bought at Madame Tussauds display when I was taken there. I spent my pocket money on it, and I had this single for years that I played until... Basically, my aunt wanted to kill me. It was great. It was really nice nostalgia feeling to see that one again.
And this turns out to be, which I had no memory of at all, it's the end of the story of The Randomizer. Not the podcast, dear listener, don't panic. But yeah, they're talking about bypassing the randomizer. There's a great line that I'm going to have to use. Next time you complain about what it comes up with, there's a line about it's very foolish to bypass the randomizer.
You're waiting now for me to do that so you can use that fucking
trapped now. You can't do it. I remember the music fondly because I had it on one of the Doctor.
Oh yeah, the electronic music and stuff. I mean, that became very iconic for that era. Anyway,
the sort of big marchy theme towards the end is a definite riff on the host planets, Mars. Visual effects and makeup are wonderful.
Yeah, it was. The costume designs were beautiful.
Yeah, like you say, the Formazi's bodies were kind of a bit more baggy.
So much them, but the Argolans' costumes and things and hairstyles and everything. It was quite a unique take on an alien race, and the pallor of the skin, you know, that sort of greenish, and then when the leader was dying, you know, how they greyed the skin and everything. It was very good. I did say, though, that the cast of the Leisure Hive looked as if afterwards they were going on to do sort of a stint in Broadway on Wicked.
It's a design it looks like most of the departments are working in the same direction, and really, you know, the kind of colour palette of the planet and the model shots, the makeup and the costumes and all of that stuff. There's lots of humorous touches even amidst the sort of nuclear wasteland. Scarf jokes, dragging that giant thing, you called it a giant jelly baby, which
that was great.
The lawyer character is called Clout with a K. That's illegal clout.
That was wonderful. The model effects were great, actually. I was really impressed with the desert sort of wasteland things. I was getting a Robots of Death vibe from it, but that's mainly because of the sand and stuff.
I couldn't quite make sense of the shots of the spacecraft docking. It was a bit too abstracted, but I just really enjoyed watching it, the sequence, all the kind of the music and everything coming together really nicely, and it's great stuff. David Haig, as you say, doing good work.
Yeah, I mean, he's antagonistic to begin with, but he is slowly going mad over the episode.
Yeah. You believe that trajectory, I think, by the end.
He had a better trajectory of madness than, say, Daenerys Targaryen did in the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
That one people will like.
No, good stuff. Really enjoyed the Leisure Hive. Anything else you want to mention?
I kind of like that weird thing where the little balls drop out their head when they're about to die.
I think I made an off-colour joke about you don't want your balls to drop in.
It was sort of weird because what they said was you sort of, up until a certain point, you're like, everyone's fine, and then suddenly you seem to have, about a week?
The other thing it could be described as is losing your marbles.
Oh, God.
But no, is that part of their physiology? Is that a body part?
It's a very strange thing. I mean, it was good. It was clever.
Nice and alien.
And, you know, this is why I like Chris Bidmead. People call it hard sci-fi or hard science. Yes, he does put a lot of real proper science into his stuff. You wouldn't compare it to, say, Dune or one of the Foundation novels or something like that, but it's a lot more sciencey than Doctor Who had ever gone before. And I suppose that's why I was a bit at first, but it is very good, and Bidmead is so good at this. This is why I love Chris Bidmead even now. You know, I think he does computer reviews or things. I mean, he's still quite active in journalism. Fantastic.
A forgotten gem, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that. It's one, like I say, I haven't watched for so long, and it was just so much enjoyment out of it.
Sweet. Let's choose another.
Look, when I give the word, press the button. The big one? Yes, maybe it works in conjunction with the others.
All right, ready for this? Telesnaps? Matt Smith? What could it be?
All right, well, let's try and find out. Now, what could it be?
The Ark.
No.
The Ark.
What, Hartnell?
Yep.
Oh, yeah! It fully exists!
Were you waiting for the words in space?
Oh, that would have been fucking awesome as well. No, I like the Ark.
This is great.
Because I like Dodo. I do actually genuinely like that story, because it's an experiment for the Hartnell
idea,
era,
isn't it?
Because you get two stories.
And Running Through Corridors mentioned this, of course, that you don't know as a serial viewer originally that you think it's just been a two-parter.
Yeah,
and you're back to the same place. So big twist.
That's what I'm saying. It's an experiment for the Hartnell era.
And they've got an elephant.
Oh, is it the one from Blue Peter that pisses on the floor?
I don't know. We'll have to wait for the DVD extras for that bit.
Stephen and Dodo then.
Yeah. This is the first proper Dodo adventure, isn't it? Because we're just after...
Yeah, I think we're just after the massacre of St. Bartholomew's Eve.
Yeah, great.
Wow! Fucking hell!
Oh, thank you, Randomizer.
Oh, yes. BritBox is... finally, the BritBox subscription is coming into its own.
Sweet. Lovely. So, well, off to Refuses.
True.
Yeah.
Off to...
You can't refuse this.
Yeah. And more Beatles jokes.
God, yeah. The
mop tops. Oh, yeah. So, technically, it's a prequel to...
Time of the Doctor.
Yeah. See? Matt Smith again.
That's how we got there somehow.
Can't get away from
If that's how it's going to give us Matt Smith, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Lovely jubbly.
I don't have a sonic screwdriver because I'm not off on a romp. I call it what it is.
A great loss of pomp and circumstance.
So it is time for Romp or Pomp, which, while we have the randomizer fired up, is a very quick fire sort of selection of random stories, and we'll just say whether we think they're a kind of fun knockabout romp or a more seriously toned kind of pompy story. All right, ready? Here we go. Inferno.
Oh, it's definitely Pomp.
Yeah, I love it.
And I've watched it actually not that long ago. It is a very good story, and it's also interesting because it's I think, if I'm right, it's the first time we enter an alternative dimension in Doctor Who. Am I right?
Oh, I mean, well, there was...
I'm not counting the Mind Robber as an alternative dimension.
That's you mean like parallel? With
parallel, sorry.
I mean, we've had, like, the Doctor looking like the Abbot of Amboise, talking of the massacre and so on.
Yeah, but that's not a parallel dimension.
No, true.
That's still within our dimension.
All right. And, of course, I suppose the only romp connection might be the episode of Coupling that it inspired.
Yeah.
All right, moving swiftly on. The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar.
Oh, it's sort of rompy-pompy because it's very funny. But it's also a damn good
serious too.
rattling story. And
I haven't seen it since broadcast.
Messy.
Go back to that one again.
Wonderful.
The Pilot, more Capaldi.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely romp.
Bill
that's
gets introduced,
great
of course.
fun.
It's a lot of quite a sort of comedy introduction.
Yeah, that whole season is fantastic.
Is that where we're getting our Dole for the first time as well?
No, well, we don't, not for the first time, because he appeared in Husbands of River Song and the Return of Dr. Mysterio.
Yeah.
But it's like his
sort of
proper, companion status, as it were.
Yeah, the Time Warrior, appropriately enough.
Oh, I'd say more... I don't know. It's sort of romp pomp thing. We've sort of got. I mean, we've got the
after you on that fence.
Romp pomp. Yeah. We've got the introduction of Sarah Jane. We've got sort of like shenanigans going on with Iron Gran and links and things. But it's just good fun, and it's the introduction of Sarah Jane.
Yeah.
What's not to love?
Indeed. One last one.
Yeah.
The Caves of Androzani.
Oh, that's definitely a pomp, and my God, that is a rattling episode, isn't it?
I would put it right up against Logopolis for best last story, at least in the classic era, maybe.
Definitely.
Yeah, lovely. That was Romp or Pomp.
You come to challenge me, Sky Warrior?
So, this brings us on to challenge time. So, I have asked Chaz to watch The Mutants, which he's never managed to. And once he's done that, he's going to give me a challenge of my own. And have you managed to watch it, my friend?
Well, if I say to you, I have a challenge for you, and that's the Pepsi challenge.
Oh.
Technically, we could sort of negotiate a deal here, because basically what happened is I went to Iceland,
the
shop, not the country,
right.
And I was doing my shopping, and it's become quite embarrassing, because what happened was I walked up to the guy and he went, "How many?" And I went, "Excuse me?" And he went, "Pepsi Max," and I went, "Oh God." And I went to pay and realised that I didn't have my card with me to pay.
No.
Then he suddenly noticed that I had the Mutants with me in my back pocket, because I had to go and buy a new copy, because
you gave it to that urchin.
Gave it to Timmy the Chimney Sweep. Cool, blimey, governor. Then I bought another copy, and Lemmy destroyed it in his angst.
Did he? Didn't mention that detail.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Lemmy destroyed it because he was distraught. You still owe me 150 quid, by the way.
Plus the cost of the Mutants.
Plus the cost of the Mutants. So I bought another copy of the Mutants, and the guy went, "Oh, is that the Mutants?" And I went, "Yeah." He said, "The Doctor?" I went, "Yeah." "Oh, God, that's the one I need to complete my collection." He said, "Look, mate," I said, "I've been trying to get it everywhere, but every time I go to buy it, constantly out of stock." And I went, "Well, if if you're up for it, I'd be quite willing for a swap, because I thought the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. So this guy...
Hang on a minute. Where's the many in all of this? This is the needs of your Pepsi Max addiction.
Wait. So I gave the guy it because the needs of the few, and he was so pleased, and he let me have my Pepsi Max. And then you came round, and you had some, so therefore, the needs of the many. So technically, you have taken the Pepsi challenge, and you yourself have benefited from this, so I think that I have fulfilled my challenge.
Given the quantities you go through, then, I've probably drunk the equivalent of, the first 10 seconds of the title sequence.
Okay, but what are we actually gonna do?
We're gonna catch ourselves a monster.
It is time for Monster by Monster, so we are going to randomly select a monster or alien from a list from the BBC website and say things about them.
I like how you inserted "or alien."
Yeah, well, occasionally we get one and we go, what's that? Alright, here we go with a random number, 164. Now, which monster would that be? Tritivores. The creatures, I think, in Planet of the Dead.
The thing that looks like the Langoliers.
I think it's the flying things, isn't it?
It's a Stephen King book, and it's these little things that basically eat time. Sort of bits of time that have sort of jumped a track.
I think I get them mixed up with Longustines.
Yeah, and these ones basically eat planets, and that's why it's a desert. They basically just eat everything.
Eat everything on the planet. So
yeah.
Basically, locusts on steroids.
Michelle Ryan was good.
Yeah, but not so monstrous.
And you like more, Mum? Yes, I am.
Oh, right.
Yeah, she was in the EastEnders. And she was the Bionic Woman.
Was she?
Yeah, she got a show. And Katie Sackhoff was in it as well.
Of course she was. It was sci-fi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's do another one. What's next?
Nothing to do with the fucking monsters, but there you go.
That's my point. 26, back in time. 26 is the Ice Warriors.
Yay!
Oh, that's quite a substantial monster.
Yeah, no, that is decent. Yeah. I think they look great in the past. Even
don't we all?
Well, yeah, I particularly look great in the past, but in purple especially. The Ice Warriors look fantastic. I always thought it was a great design. And I was particularly pleased when they brought them back because they actually look great now and they haven't changed it too much. I'm actually different from a lot of people because I like Cold War. I like the fact that Gatiss said that the thing was armour and it could come out of its suit. A lot of people seem to think that diminished them. I don't think so. It just... To me, that showed how clever they were building the armour, a bit like Dalek, but also, they were obviously fierce warriors. Because the thing that always seemed a bit weird is I don't understand how any alien race could evolve an actual weapon, a sonic weapon.
Baked into their arms.
Their...
also, it means they were all naked if that was their skin.
Yeah, exactly. So being armour seemed quite sensible to me. They're great. They're great in their original ones, and also they're one of the few alien races where they're not always evil.
Yeah,
because you look at the Peladon stories and so on.
That's such a good thing.
And you look at Skuldak and stuff. He only really wants to get back to his people. Yeah. But then you look at Empress of Mars. And we have the forming of the Federation and so on. And, of course, the return of Alpha Centauri, which I always thought was crap, but I must admit I practically nearly wet myself when I heard the voice. I was so pleased.
Yeah, I remember them most fondly in First from Seeds of Death, not Seeds of Doom. I always get those two mixed up.
Yeah.
But because that was on VHS, I only watched the original Ice Warriors story as a reconstruction, partly. I think bits of it exist, I forget. But
it's animated.
Again, I probably watched the recon before the animation happened. I've been unlucky in my timing that way. But that's great, strong stories. You can see why they came back. They've got such a presence.
Yeah, they are great.
A different sort of story. It's also good that they don't always just have to crank up the heat to defeat them.
Did you know that they were originally scheduled to appear in Terminus?
I did not.
Yeah. Because that particular season, every episode was supposed to have a returning enemy because it was the 20th.
We got the Garm instead, my favourite.
Oh, God. Here we go again.
Shall we do one more monster?
Probably the fucking Garm.
That would be just so peachy.
Be brilliant.
132.
It's the Garm.
Oh, I would love if it's the Garm. 132. It's the No, it's the Destroyer.
Oh, from Battlefield.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Great monster underused.
Yeah, I mean, really, it appears, in the last 10 minutes?
And it's far too easily defeated.
Well, it actually technically appears at the end of episode 3, but it basically does a lot of just walking about and goes, I'll destroy this, that.
I don't even remember it walking about, to be honest. I just remember it standing in a corner. And...
I mean, it was great prosthetics and obviously, sort of animated quite well, but like you say, completely underused.
Yeah.
It's a damn shame. I do love Nicholas Courtney, but I believe he was right about killing the Brigadier off
that was on the cards, wasn't
in that story, and I think
what a
it
way to
would
go.
have probably had a lot more impact.
And the Destroyer would have been a much more effective monster for all
exactly,
of that.
because he basically would have had that outing of, I just do the best I can, and that's the Brigadier going out on a high,
But, we got him as the Cyberman later on instead. What the hey?
Oh, yeah, well, that obviously fixes everything.
It's the end. But the moment has been prepared for.
9 times out of 10.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like to get in touch or if you've found an unusual use for a walk, we can be contacted by email at randomizerpodcast@gmail.com, leave us a voicemail at anchor.fm/randomizer, or follow us on Twitter at randomizerpod. And in all cases, that's randomizer...
with an S, not a Z. Do you know, when I was a kid, I had a part in a play, and I only had a few lines, and you've taken practically all my fucking lines away from this, so I am going to milk every second of that. Come on, that's gold. It's comedy gold.
It's the sort of gold that should be flushed. You'll have to say all of that again.
Well, the whole Chris Bidmead thing?
No, the whole podcast.